by putting it in highest to lowest or rank order the data. Let's not, Excel doesn't call that rank ordering. It's like your calculator. Your calculator says sort A or sort D. Well, this button right here tells you how to do that, sort and filter. And if you click the button, it just tells you what that's for. But if you click the little arrow down here, it gives you the choice of sorting A to Z or Z to A. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible to shut the couple of the lights off up front?
I can shut all the lights off, but that's the only other thing I can do.
Let's try that.
Is that okay?
That was perfect.
I mean, you're working on the screen, so you're probably not taking notes anyway. Does that help?
Yes.
Does it need to be bigger? Would that help? Because I can adjust that.
Yes, please.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you probably don't want to make your font 24, but I just increased the font size here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to sort this data. So what you want to do when you sort data is you want to click on the column that contains the data. Notice I clicked on the A and it selected everything that's in that column. And then I'm going to go over here and click on that little triangle at the lower right-hand corner of the sort button. And let's sort it smallest to largest. And notice it immediately did it. You saw it do it. Unless you blinked and then you missed it. Okay, so it's now sorted that data. The reason I would want to sort it is because I would like to know the max and the min to be able to calculate the class width. So I can see here now that the minimum data value equals 95. And then if I scroll down to the bottom of the column, I see that the maximum is 150. Now I'm just basically making notes up here with this. I'm not doing any calculations with that yet. I can do calculations in Excel. I can do them in any cell that I want to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it that I need to find class width, and I'm just going to call that CW. So class width equals. And you can have it reference cells to do arithmetic, which is probably the easiest way to do it. But I'm going to actually just type stuff in. So I want this to be equal to, and notice as soon as I put an equal to up here, it copies it up at the top, 150, and let's put that in parentheses, so let me back up. Parentheses, 150 minus 95, close the parentheses, divide by 2, or I'm sorry, not 2. How many were we going to make here? Let's go back and look. It says 6 classes. So we're going to divide by 6. And when you hit enter, you just see the result of that. Okay?
What is it?
Now if I go back up here, it shows me the formula up here at the top. So it was equals, parentheses, 150, subtract 95, close parentheses, divide 6, hit enter, and it completes all the arithmetic for you and stores the answer in myself. Okay?
It run blue or something?
It did because I've got mine set to only 2 decimal places.
Okay.
Okay? And I only need to see 2 decimal places because I'm going to round it up to the next integer, which is going to be round up to 10. Even though it's only 9.2, you round up. And that was the mistake lots of people were making, where they were rounding to 9 rather than 10. So you round up to 10. Yes?
Mine's just keeping a formula, it's not given the 9.2.
We can look at exactly what it says, because there's two different things could be wrong. Okay, take the class width out from in front of it. I moved over to the next cell to do that. Now, if you look, you'll hit enter, it's in there. Okay? Anybody else having problems so far? Okay, so I know my class width is 10, and I know my min. So I'm going to build my class intervals. Now let's see, let's just call that class intervals. And my first class interval is going to be to begin at 95. And my next one is going to be 95 plus 10. So that'll be 105. And the next one's going to be 115, 125, 135, 145. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means this one is going to stop at 104. This one's going to stop at 114. This one's going to stop at 124. Notice it's just add 10 every time. 134. 144. And 154. So there's my class intervals. And now I need to be able to count how many values are between 95 and 104. And I'm going to be able to use Excel to tell me this quickly. I'm not going to have to scroll up and down and count like I do on the calculator. Excel will count for me. So I'm going 95 to 104, and all there is those two. And if you look down at the bottom of the page down here, it'll tell you what the mean of those two cells is. It calls it the average, but it says there's two in there, and it tells you what they add up to. But the only thing we're really interested in is there's two cells in there. There was two that were in that group. So we can see that this is 2 for the frequency. Okay? And then the next one goes 105 to 114, so that would be the 110s, but not the 115s. So there's 3 of those. And then the next one goes 115 to 124, so that would be the 115s and the 120s, but not the 125s. So I see down here that it says that I have 10 of those. And then 125 through 134. So this says that I have 12 of those. And then 135 to 144. And I see that there are 9 of those. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 more for the last class. The last class has 4 in it. Okay? Now so far this is not looking really table-y. So what I want to do is I want to make this expand to hold word frequency all in one cell. And then what I want to do here is slide this over so that I've got a place to put midpoints. Now what I'm doing to make it automatically widen is I'm just putting the cursor up at the top on the line between the letters. And when it turns black with an arrow pointing out, it's saying, you know, scoot these things apart. And what it did was it scooted it apart to make it fit round up to 10. Well, I didn't really care if it did that, so I'm going to scoot it back. So you can size these either automatically or you can size them however you want to. And I want the midpoints to be in this column because I'm going to make frequency distribution. I want it to use the midpoints to label my frequency distribution and to label my histogram. So what is the midpoint of 95 to 104? Now, if you don't know, you can do some arithmetic. I'm going to say first midpoint equals, and then equals, parentheses, 95 plus 104, close parentheses, divide by 2. So the first one is 99.5. So I'm going to put 99.5. And what's the next one? 109.5. 119.5. 129.5. 139, oops, 0.5, and 149.5. So there's my midpoints. And I've got all the frequencies. And the handout has you do relative frequencies and cumulative frequencies, which we can do, but we don't need that for histogram. I will come back and show you how to do that. Okay? But that's just arithmetic, basically. Because everybody caught up and good so far. You know what we've done so far, and you have what I have.
Almost.
Almost? Okay, let's make sure everybody gets this.
What was the midpoint formula thing that you put in?
Equals, parentheses, 95 plus 104, close parentheses, divide by 2. Okay?
All right.
And there was a reason I didn't put that formula down there under the word midpoint, because Excel treats the result of a calculation differently from what it does a number, and it would not have wanted me to use that 99.5. So that was why I did that separately, because as far as it's concerned, even though the result was 99.5, the formula is actually what's in that cell, and it will not use a formula to label a histogram. So I did the calculation outside of my table that I'm going to use. Down here, if I click on this 99.5, it just says 99.5 up there on the bar. Okay? Now, we're going to make the histogram, but it takes several steps. So we need to go to, let's see, Insert, which is the next tab at the top. And we want to insert a chart. So we're going to click on the lower right-hand corner of the Charts button, which is this button here. Or as a shortcut, you can go to the charts that are here in the middle. And if you look, the one we want looks like that. Did everybody find that one? It's right under the word View. What we want is called a column chart. What Excel calls a bar chart looks like this, where the bars are going sideways. So we don't want that. We want a column chart. And what we want for our column chart is a two-dimensional column chart. So So we're just gonna take the face one, I'm sorry, the first one. But I have the whole table highlighted, and if I'm not careful, I'm gonna get something I don't want, because it's looking at all these numbers as separate things to make bars with. That's why you're seeing 4 bars here. So what you do, let's delete that chart. If you made it, you can delete it. What we want to do is, before we actually hit that button, we want to show it what we want it to make a chart of. And you have to be careful with a histogram what you tell it you want the chart made from. Because what we want it to make the chart from is the frequencies. And don't highlight the word frequency, highlight only the frequencies. Because that's going to tell it how tall to make each bar. Okay? So highlight only the frequencies. Go back up to the column chart button and choose the first one. And I'll move it up here out of the way. And notice that when I've got the chart highlighted, it highlights the data that it's made from. Now, I would like for that chart to be a little bit bigger so you can see it better. So I'm going to grab this corner and make it bigger. And right now it is a bar chart, but it is not a histogram. Okay? It is a bar chart, but it is not a histogram. We have to make it into a histogram. It also doesn't have the correct labels under each bar. We have to tell it what those labels are. And it doesn't have a title. We're going to have to tell it what the chart title is, and we're going to have to tell it what the horizontal and the vertical axis titles are. So that's all on these things. You notice as long as I have the chart highlighted, there's this thing up here called Chart Tools that popped up that you didn't see before. And on Chart Tools, you have Design and Format Tools. So what we probably would like to do is format the chart. And the way that we're going to do some of this formatting is we're going to right-click on one bar, any one bar. Click on Format Data Series. And right now it has a gap between the bars, that big gap. We don't want a gap between the bars, so watch while I move this up and down. Actually, I'm going to move it down. I'm going to lower it down. Now, if you watch, you'll see the bars are growing really, 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 really slowly. And now there is 0 gap width. Now, since that's what you wanted, you could have just highlighted the number that was there and put in 0. And it would just whoop, and spread the bars all out. Okay? So that's one thing that we needed to do. We need to make the bars touch. But if I click off of this now and look at the bars, it looks like a big blob. There's no outline around the bars to show me which one's which. So I'm going to click back on the bars again and click on the fill in line. I don't mind them being blue. If you do, you can click fill and pick another color down here. It can be any color you want it to be. But Old Faithful and its water and blue sounds good to me. But the other one I want is a border. And I want a solid line, and I would like that solid line to be black. So now, when I click off that, I can see my histogram. I can see it the way it should look for me. We can go back to design, and we want to change some things. You can change to these other different formats, but I want to leave that where it is. I need to add some chart elements. Everybody see where I am? Up at the top over to the far left, go to the chart elements button. What you see under chart elements is axes, axis titles, chart titles, data labels, data table, bunch of other stuff. What I want to do is I want to change the axis titles. So choose the second thing. And the horizontal axis I want to be interval midpoints. And then in parentheses after that, minutes. You just type it up here. It's got the axis title highlighted, and then you change what that title is going to be. So it's interval midpoints, and then in parentheses after that, minutes. When you're finished, hit enter. And notice that it changes the title of your chart. Now mine's pretty small. I know y'all probably can't see that too well, so I'm going to make a change. You won't need to make this change, but I'm going to make it for your benefit. Got better? All I did was change the font on the chart so that you could read it better. And I still have the chart highlighted, so I'm going to go back to design, add chart element, and I need a title for my vertical axis. What should we call the vertical axis? Frequency, because that's what it represents, is the frequencies. And then I want to give it a chart title. And it gives me the choice of having it centered and overlay, or I can have it above the chart. I think I want mine above the chart. So once again, I'm just going to type what I want that title to be. So let's call this Lengths of Old Faithful Eruptions. And it looks pretty good so far, except for one thing. Anybody tell me what's still wrong with this chart? What are the values on my horizontal axis? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? What should those be? Well, either the class interval, you can do that. You can make it the class intervals, or you can make it the midpoints. Now, if I'm going to make it class intervals, I'll have to actually go back and create a little group of cells that has the interval in it that says 95-104 and so forth. And I didn't originally create them that way, but I do have midpoints already created. So what I would like to do is I would like to change those chart titles, the axis values, to these midpoints. But I'm going to have to be careful how I do it. So I'm going to select the chart. I'm going to go to design. I don't see anything here that helps me, but I do see something out here about the data. So kind of about 3/4 of the way across the top of the page, you should see data, and you only have two choices on data. You can switch a row and a column, which is not what we want to do, or we can select the data. That'll change the data that's included in the chart. Well, I don't think that's what I want to do either. Because what I want to do is I just want to change the labels of those intervals. So where I actually have to do it is they changed the name of it. I'm trying to remember what it is now. Okay, here we go. Labels. So how I got here was on the chart elements, axes, more axis options, and down here I see labels. I don't think that's going to give me what I want though. They moved my stuff. Well, now that I've got it though, let me get off of that. Click on the 1. You see it put a box around those? When I clicked on the 1, it's got all those labels in a box. I should, with that there, be able to come over here and choose those. No. Folks, I'm sorry, I did this at home, but mine at home does not have everything in the exact same place. Bear with me. With the histogram, you have to widen your bars, and you have to put a border around those bars, because when they touch, you can't tell one from the other. It just looks like a big blob. There are other things that we can do here that are just like what we did in the graphing calculator. We can do descriptive statistics. For example, we can do the mean, the median, the mode, the standard deviation, 5-number summary, which would be the men, Q1. We already did the median, Q3. The max. I mean, you can have it find these automatically. So you can do your statistics here. And in order to do that, I'm going to click in the cell in front of all those words. I'm going to show you how to find those. Click on your FX button. We're sitting in the cell in front of the word mean. Click on the FX button at the chart ribbon. It says insert function. Does everybody find that? When you click on that, it opens up a dialog box. Right now, it's defaulted to whatever somebody used the last time. What we want to do is show us the statistical formulas. So click in that little drop-down menu and choose statistical. And that list will change. Now you're going to have to be careful and make a note of what these are. Excel calls the mean the average, which is what you were accustomed to before you learned better. So we're just going to have to go with it and use the average. Tell it OK. And it says, OK, tell me what data you want me to use. That's what it's asking for, is what data do you want me to use. Well, I want it to use what's in column A. So I just clicked on column A. And I tell it OK. Now, because it's rounding those values off, I'm going to widen this a little bit so that it'll be more decimal places. Okay? If I want more decimal places than that, I can adjust it up here with this. This gives it fewer, this one gives it more. So you can adjust your rounding up here where it says number. I would, if I were you, right next to the word mean, since this is going to be something you're going to have to remember, oh, how did I get that? Put parentheses after that, FX, statistical, and then average, to remember what you chose. Because that's the only one that's going to be really different.
I just got really lost.
Okay, did you not get to 127.2 yet?
No, I did not.
Okay, I'm going to back it out and go back through it for you, okay? And I'm going to use this to remind you of how to do it.
Okay.
So while you're sitting there, you have to select the cell. You go to the FX at the top. Make sure that what's in the selected category box is statistical.
So, my box looks
Okay, let me see the box you got.
That's what Steve Jobs says for you.
Yeah, really.
See, because I've got this, phone builder, got scrapbook, roads.
Don't change your colors.
Okay, one more.
Same.
Okay, averagely, you may have to just scroll up and down that little list until I figure out how it's different. Scroll down some more.
Oh, it goes and goes and goes.
Try to get down to the S's. I'd say statistical when you get down.
This is not working. Let me still change the colors.
Well, it says statistical right there, not all of it. Stand.
Go ahead and type statistical.
I just got it to work, like, for the first time first. I'll just change the picture.
I see. Yeah.
Okay, I like that better. That looks cleaner. give me the thing.
You're gonna have to just go back to, you're gonna have to remember what the name of the one you want is, so you just type average. You'll find it.
Average.
As long as you give it the first few letters of it, it's gonna search your list and find it.
Okay, so,
You'll just need to remember what they're called,
okay.
and I'm
So
gonna be telling
how
you
do I
what
get
they're all
that?
called.
How do I get that 127?
When you select it, it should have already given you that.
Right there.
Get in. Okay, come up here where you adjust your decimals.
Increase or decrease?
You want to increase the decimals. Okay. I don't know why I said 125.
Probably because it says 125 right there.
Okay, you need to have that whole thing highlighted when you start, that whole column. Okay? Everybody else okay? Once you get the process started, it's not too bad. No, I do not want the average deviation. Don't mind. There. I'll just put it back. Okay, median. Click the FX button. If you're still on statistical, or you can, actually you can type in MED and it'll take you to the ones that sound like that. But they're in alphabetical order, so you can do it either way. I'm just going to type MED. Median, tell it to go, and, okay, and it found it. So you can tell it what you want. And then you want to select your column, and it finds the median for you. The name of it is, in Excel, is the median. Did you select the whole column? No, C17, it probably said that exact number or something. You have to select that whole column. When it says C17, click on the top of the A column. Does that work?
Okay.
You always have to go back and select column A every time you do one of these. Okay, so here we're going to click FX and type mode. Tell it to go and it finds the mode for us. Now notice below that there are two other options. It says mode, comma, molt, and then mode, comma, SNGL. This doesn't do exactly the same thing that these two do. If you think there might be more than one mode, you probably want to select that second one. Okay?
So since mine doesn't have just a regular mode, will it always be the multiple one?
I would do the multimodal one because if there's only one, then it'll tell you the one. But if there's more than one, it'll tell you what they are. The bad news is if there's 10 or 15, it'll tell you all of them. And at that point, you say the mode doesn't matter and just put no answer. Okay? So choose multimodal. Okay. Click column A. Okay. And it told me 120 and 130, but for some reason it's not showing me both of them in the box. Don't get that one. Let's see. Let me back out and try that again because it should have told me both of them.
You search mode, but it pops up that way. It'll pop up. give them some help.
Very good page. Yeah, okay.
And I don't know if there'll be any different answers, but I had to search for two at work too.
Okay, click on the second box, is what number 2?
No.
No.
I don't like Microsoft anything.
Let me check something out because I might not be counting right. Let's see. Okay, there's 8 120s. And there's 8 130s. So it only found one of them. Well, it actually found both of them, but it didn't correctly tell you both of them for whatever reason. I'm not sure why it doesn't. So just remember that the mode is not trustworthy.
So do we only put one there, or do we need to put both?
Leave it with what it says. Because honestly, we're not that often going to be using the mode anyway. But it will calculate one. I'm not sure what formula it said it was using when it's calculated the second one. Standard deviation is exactly what you think it is. You click on the FX button and you type STANDARD DEVIATION. Tell it go. And here again, it brings up a bunch. You got to figure out the right one. STDEVA and STDEVP are neither one what you want. You want STDEVS for a sample. Estimates the standard deviation based on a sample. Okay? Based on a sample. If you look at the one below it, it says calculate standard deviation based on the entire population. What we have here is not a population, it's a sample. So we have to tell it to use the sample standard deviation. If you just tell it STDEV, it estimates standard deviation based on the sample just like the other one does, but just in case you're ever unsure, use the one that says S afterwards. This one and this one really do the same thing. And again, you have to tell it all of column A and tell it OK, and it gives you the standard deviation. So there's what you're looking for in the list. And even though we sorted it and found it, you can get it to find it from an unsorted list of data too. You just go minimum. Okay. Let's try just the word min, or just the expression min. Okay, there we go. Just type min. And select column A. Tell it OK, and there's the 95. Same thing with max. I'm skipping over Q1 and Q3 for a second. FX, type max in the box. OK. Tell it column A. OK. That's what did you do? You didn't give me what I expected, sorry. did it right that time. I must have hit the wrong button last time. And then Q1, FX. You're gonna have to ask it for quartiles. Because it doesn't know what Q1 and Q3 are, so quartile. And don't worry about the others, quartile works just fine. So again, you click column A, but then you have to tell it which quartile do you want. You tell it 1. Okay? And it explains what quartile is down here. It says quart is a number, minimum value would be 0, first quartile equals 1, median equals 2, third equals 3, and maximum equals 4. So you actually can find your max and your min using that too. All you really have to type in is quartile, and it lets you specify which of the 5 number summary you want. So then for Q3, it brings quartile back up, so I'm just going to go with it and tell it that the array is in column A and this is quartile 3 that I want. Okay? Excel does not do box plots. Excel does not do stem plots by itself. You have to use DDXL or some other program to do that. But what you got here is the basics for how to do things in Excel. How to create a chart, how to calculate some basic descriptive statistics. Okay? We are now ready to save this. And you can save it to whatever device you want to. I'm going to save mine into my Dropbox. You can save yours onto a flash drive or wherever. And now here's what I want you to do with it. Go back to D2L, go into the Dropbox. Lab 0, Old Faithful data, is the one at the bottom. I've given you until tonight, 11:59 to submit it, but you want to go ahead and submit it now so that you'll have your points for your lab. If you need to work on it a few more minutes, I will let you do that. But I want you to submit it on this Dropbox. Now your folder and mine are not going to look the same right now. Because when I pop that up, it's going to show me what y'all have submitted. It doesn't show the same way. When you click that, it should show you how to attach a file. You can add a message just like it would be for email.
The lab Old Faithful.
Yeah, you just want to submit that file. And be sure and submit it where it's got your username _ Old Faithful. Now once you get that done, then the other thing I want you to spend the rest of the class period doing, there is another Dropbox called Excel Labs 1 through 6.
Oh, whoops, that's the one I put it under. Redo that.
Yeah, you can leave it where you put it and just put it in the other box too.
Okay.
Labs 1 through 6, right here, are on content. If you go to content and click on Excel Labs, and there's labs 1 through 6. Each one of these comes up and explains to you with screenshots how to do every single one of these, step by step by step. And it's based on the current version of Excel. Nate, there may be little minor differences with yours, I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. I ended up figuring the entire thing out.
Yeah, I think with the pictures, you can probably figure out what you've got to do. So I want you to open the labs. I don't care if you read them online. You know, if you've got your laptop, you want to open it up as a document, you can download it and open it with Adobe Acrobat. Or if you want to have a hard copy, you can print it. The printers are on. But I want you to get started on Excel Lab 1. So I'm still here to help you. And you have a week to do Excel Lab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And submit those, each one. And you'll do all of them exactly the same as what you did before. Username underscore Lab 1. Username underscore Lab 2. Username underscore Lab 3. And you're going to submit all 6 of them on Excel Labs 1 through 6, which will give you up to 60 points. So I'm going to give you the rest of the class period to work on those.